sure everything is working. And I believe we are good to go. So we're starting our stream a little later in the day today. I'm working on my Wasteland Headdress. If you tuned into my last Twitch stream, you saw me pinning dreadlocks to a hat. I am taking this now in a completely different direction, indecisiveness at its finest. And so we use the Lightning Cosplay's method. And what she does is she has a headband that you end up creating. So this here is made out of Warbler. Then I've got some double rings that I put elastic through, so it'll wrap around my head and can be adjusted this way. As for how I'm going to hang all the dreadlocks from it, I'm going to put another strap that'll go from the top here and wrap all the way back, and it'll be more of a mohawk wasteland look. I'm going to end up braiding my own hair and leaving my own hair down because I think that the color of my hair and then the fur and the dreadlocks that I currently have will be fine. So what I've done is I've used insulation foam for the horns. I've cut them and turned them at various lengths. I attach them with Warbler and more thermoplastics, and I'm going to cover them with newspaper. I'm going to do about 4 layers of paper mache. I do my paper mache with flour, all-purpose flour, and water. It doesn't need to be any special flour. The flour that I'm using, I think, expired a couple years ago, but all the better to use it for arts and crafts. And then I've just got regular newspaper that I've cut into small squares that I will dunk in there and then just coat these horns. The reason I want to do 3 or 4 layers is once the my concoction of flour and water is dried, it'll be extremely hard and lightweight once all that moisture evaporates out of it. Then what will happen is on top of my paper mache, I'm going to take epoxy sculpt and I am going to create the bumps that I want on my antelope horns with the epoxy sculpt. So for right now, I'm just going to start dunking newspaper. Should probably take my rings off. Dunking newspaper, using my fingers to squeegee off any leftovers, and then just blobbing it on and smoothing it out. The first layer is going to be very rough. It might have a lot of wrinkles in it, but as I apply more layers, it should get good to go and smoother. I'm not going to type any responses back to you guys because my fingers are gross, but I will do my best to verbally answer any little questions that you post for me. So I'm just gonna get to paper macheing. It's a very cheap process, so yes, I could have used Warbler to cover my horns, but I'm not entering this in any contest. It's for my own personal fun. The Michigan Renaissance Festival opening day is this Saturday, this weekend. And so my goal is to take this headdress there. So again, it's just insulation foam. I'm going to wrap with paper, newspaper. I hope that my mixture thickens up a bit. I tend to like my paper mache on the thick side. I like to then smear that flour and water all over the surface as I go. I don't want it to be in clumps, but I do want it to be lucrative over the surface. One thing about paper mache is that you can sand it as well. So once I get my 4 layers on, if there are any significant bumps that I need to fix before I apply my epoxy sculpt, I can easily just take some sandpaper to it and get any really big bubbles or chunks of flour that were left behind out of the way. So there's no rhyme or reason to it. There's 2 that I'm just blobbing in there. You don't have to wait for each layer. A common misconception is, do I have to wait for a layer of paper mache to be dry before I lay on my next layer? No. No, you don't. You can just keep going. Just know, though, that the more layers you put on a paper mache, the longer it's going to take to dry. So I will get this all coated in paper mache tonight, and then by the time tomorrow afternoon rolls around, it should be good for some sanding and epoxy sculpt. And then the epoxy sculpt itself will take another day or so to dry, depending on how thick I put the pieces on. My pieces aren't very big. They're small, hand-size, palm-size squares and rectangles, because there are so many bends in my horns, and having to wrap them around something of more of a cylinder shape, I would have more wrinkles if I was using bigger pieces than by just using these small pieces. A little bit more time consuming, but it'll have a nicer look when finished. I could have used glue. A lot of people like to use Elmer's glue with their water for paper mache. I guess I'm a little old school with using flour. Hi Ashley, congratulations. Why didn't you do some contest? Oh, hey Nick. So he's saying congratulations because this past Saturday was Windsor Comic-Con costume contest, and I did a bunch of alterations to my Talon cosplay, and I took Talon across the border, so I guess it would have been my first international contest, and I am very humble and thankful. I took first place in the advanced category, so yay! Nick, there might be some a little further upstate, but I can't make any promises. Again, I know that we're going to the Renaissance. Oh, it's Marie. Forgive me. You're on Nick's account. I know that we are just having some fun at the Renaissance Festival on Saturday. Nothing big, but yeah. So I wanna. You can see there's a katana behind me. It's right underneath the mask. That was one of the prizes that I won, and yes, it actually has a sharpened blade. It has a sharpened blade. So, self-defense weapon right there. So again, it's redundant. I'm putting the paper in the mixture and spreading it on. You can see that it's slowly covering the horns. Less pink showing. The next comic book convention that I plan to attend is going to be Grand Rapids Comic-Con. And, well, as of right now, if everything goes as planned, Grand Rapids Comic-Con, which is in October, right before YumaCon. So I say as planned because YumaCon Crazy Crunch Time will be in full swing, and hopefully I will be ahead of schedule and be able to visit Grand Rapids and see some friends and some awesome cosplayers there. Oh, it's a bummer you can't come this weekend. However, Mackinac is a great alternative to Holly, Michigan, in a field. Congratulations also to 11 years of dating. It's a milestone. So there are some spots on this horn where there might be more layers than the others. I'm not worried about it, just trying to get one nice coverage without putting my hands on the elastic band in the back, like I just did. My hair is a mess today, so I'm wearing one of my favorite brand new hats, my 311 hat. Picked it up this year at their concert. Well, somebody sent me a text message. R2D2 is letting me know somebody sent me a text message. However, they're going to have to wait because I've got gross, gloopy hands. So if you're on stream as well as texting me, I'm sorry. You're going to have to wait a moment, please. Now with the tips of the horns, I've always done this, is I will actually cover and put it so that there's a lot of slack over top of the horn. That way when I roll it over, I will bend it down and create a nice point. Oop, that got a little sloppy. There. And I'll put more up top. So I find myself just ripping off even smaller pieces at times to stick up there. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect because this is one of 4 layers. So layer 1 is done on one horn. I'm going to switch over to the other guy now. Where's my grandson? Stitch the cat is probably sleeping somewhere. My project manager is eating and sleeping. I've got a, if some of you are wondering, you see it wobbling from side to side and I should put it on a head mannequin. I've got the head guy and you can kind of see the wooden block over here. If I put this on the head form, it gets too big for my camera setup. So I've already got the camera pretty high off the table as is. So I'm just going to let it wobble from side to side. I'm going with an antelope horn shape. They're not exact. It took me, I like things to be symmetrical. If you watched the first video, I kept saying symmetry over and over again. However, in nature, horns are more organic, and I had to suck it up and let them be off a little bit. There's my kitten. So if people wanted to see, there's Stitch. There's the project manager. He's managing from the ground, making his debut. Thanks, buddy. Bye, buddy. He grumped and groaned a little bit, so I'm guessing he very much so was sleeping. For anyone that knows me or has talked with me in real life, or maybe even online, I love cats, and I love my cat. I love my cat so much. He's a little stinker, but there's just something about him. You can also see on the table just over here the skulls that I'll be using. So the coyote skull is sitting next to me, as well as the jawbone. I used a Dremel, and I posted a picture on my Instagram yesterday, and I was able to split the jawbone perfectly in half between the two front teeth without chipping or losing any of the teeth. They stayed inside their little caverns. And then, just to be safe, after all was said and done, and I sanded where I cut, because when you cut bone it gets really sharp, I added a little super glue just because I didn't want to press my luck. So the skull actually fits right between the horns, and then the jawbones will hang down on either side. Sometimes I just wipe my hands and stick all the paper mache that's on my hands on here. And I'm going to have to wash the elastic because I've got a bunch of paper mache already on it. I should have figured that was going to happen and covered it up. Oops. Oops, oops, oops. I had so much fun at Comic-Con on Saturday. I wish time permitted so we could have gone again on Sunday, but it took us well over an hour to get across the, not to get across the bridge, but to get past customs, I guess it would be called, maybe? They check your passports. The gentleman in front of us, and I'm guessing other people did this too, gave the people inside those little toll boxes like half his mailbox. So I'm guessing he forgot his passport, and oh goodness. So we had to deal with a lot of that, but we made it. We made it. And going home was super easy and fast. It took us like 2 minutes to get back into the States. Reason for working on foil. There's no reason that I'm working on this aluminum foil. The thermoplastics for the headband I did earlier this morning, and I used the foil so that I didn't cook my ironing mat, because the thermoplastics actually will peel off foil a lot easier than they will my desk table. So the foil was just leftovers, and because I am very messy when it comes to paper mache, now I'm reusing that foil instead of getting rid of it because it's all crinkly and whatnot, as a drop cloth. So trying not to be wasteful. Oh, cool thing with the aluminum as well is if I have to paper mache tomorrow, when the paper mache dries onto the aluminum, if I crinkle the aluminum just a little bit, the paper mache will crack off it, and then I can throw that away and then still use the foil again. So save the environment, one piece of aluminum foil at a time. So I finished the other horn. Now I'm just going back to the first one and working on layer 2. This is where I've kind of got to watch where I'm going, because now it'll start to get confusing with how many layers do I really have, where does one layer start and one layer stop. So I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. Again, working on smoothing things out. I'm going to do 4 layers, 3 to 4 layers of this paper mache. I want it to be sturdy because I'm not putting Worbla or that thermoplastic on it. The flour and water mixture, when it dries after so many layers, will be solid. And that'll be enough that if I accidentally bump it against something, I won't hurt the horns. After this paper mache, though, I'm going to be putting what I showed at the beginning of my stream, epoxy sculpt, to create the bumps and ridges that you actually would see in an antelope horn. I have that image saved to my computer that I'm using, of the antelope that I'm using for reference. Once I get done and I wash my hands, I will pull it up for you guys to see. Also, today's my mother's birthday, for those that are watching that want to know. Happy birthday, Deb. I love you. I called and talked to her the other day. She lives closer to my brother, so he and his wife and children are taking her out to eat. So that's lovely. Thank you, Michael. A little brother for the win. My mother doesn't look a day past 25. No, but seriously, she looks great. Ugh. And she's single. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, hint, hint. Anybody? You will notice that if you choose to make your paper mache out of flour and water, when it starts to harden, it'll start to harden first in your bowl, and it turns solid. You never want to pour the leftover flour and water down your sink. Just like it's getting hard on my hands and it's getting harder on the edges of the bowl, it'll get hard in your plumbing. So just use it till it's all gone, or find a extra shopping bag to dump it into when you're done if you're at home and you have nothing industrial that you can throw it away in. Don't put it down your sink. Don't do it. Don't put it down your sink at all. You will have angry parents, angry landowners, you'll be angry with yourself when you realize the extensive damage that you've done. So either use it all or throw it away in a receptacle, not your kitchen sink. My phone is going crazy. Nope, my mom is not dating anybody. Nope. Not that this stream is me trying to find her a gentleman or anything. You must be tall and a gentleman if you wish to inquire about my mother. I'm looking for somebody that'll open up doors for her. Maybe hold an umbrella when it's raining. I'm just kidding. But I mean, maybe I'm not. So I'm almost done with the second layer. It goes on pretty quick. I'm kind of getting it all over myself in the table. I have not forgot about Gosetsu. For those of you that are checked in and said, hey, that's the Doma Samurai that you've been working on for YumaCon, you are correct. I'm just taking a sidestep. He is still the most important costume for me to get done. But I want something fun for Renaissance Festival. And so once this is done, or the weekend's over, whichever one comes first, I will be switching back gears to Gosetsu. Ooh, that horn spike turned out nice there at the tip. Oh, so sharp and pointy. I think my friends must know that I'm streaming right now and I can't get to my phone because I haven't received this many text messages all day. So if one of you just keeps texting so that you can hear R2-D2, yep, you're a boob. Stop being a boob if you're texting me because I'm streaming right now. I haven't received but one message all day. Funny friends. I hope you're laughing at home right now. Now it's just entertaining. I'm not wearing long sleeves or a nice shirt while I do this either because I'm just getting it all over my arm. What time?
Leaving now. How long are you going to stream for?
Some friends are going on a bike ride and they want to know if I want to go. I'm a little busy right now. But maybe we're almost done with 2 layers. I like the comics, so I will purposefully cut a bunch of comic book pages. That way it's just a bunch of comic strips that I'm sticking on. Yep, that was a burp I heard. There is a pig in the background. sometimes I doubt whether or not I've covered a layer, and then I just put another piece down. Because why not? What you don't want to do and you want to try to push out is if you see any air pockets underneath the newspaper, that means there's like a pocket of paper mache more than likely, and you kind of want to push that out. Any extra lumps of paper mache that are not necessary will actually start to create an aroma. I like to say that it smells kind of like decomposing bodies after a while, but imagine the stink of flour sitting in a warm climate spoiling after hours. Doesn't smell like flowers, I can tell you that for sure. Awesome. So there are 2 layers on this, and it's significantly heavier now than it was when I started. However, it will go back to almost being as light as it was in the beginning once all this moisture has evaporated and this paper mache has dried. I think there's enough for me to do 1 more layer. I'm going to start the layers at the same time because I don't want to have to mix more flour. I'm going to start from the top and go down them both. I did want to get 3 to 4 layers on this. However, if I don't get 3 to 4 layers, I'm not going to be upset. I'm going to just reinforce things with the epoxy sculpt tomorrow. Yeah. So you can see like how crinkly my hands are. Maybe it'll be easier if I go this way. See how gross that is? So let's... I like the tips on them, so I'm going to just start right below it on this one. And again, I'm pushing out the paper mache. Blah. So it's only taken me about a half an hour to get this far, which is not too bad. So if you're trying to look for a process that is not very time consuming to do, however, again, I will have to wait overnight. You need to see a dermatologist. You need to see a dermatologist. Don't say mean things on my stream. If people are wondering why my face is breaking out, it's because I was in Talon for Windsor Comic-Con on Saturday, and I had makeup on underneath it. So all that sweat just ran into my pores. It's a judgment-free zone on my stream. If you don't want or don't like what you see, turn to something else. Unless you were making the joke about the dermatologist and the cracky skin that I just showed you for paper mache. Then that is fun. But I am breaking out as well, so. I know I forgot about the other horn, but it looks like the mixture might spread, or there might be enough to spread to the other guy if I get half of this one done. I got that after the fact, sorry. Guess I was just a little self-conscious about how my skin turned after wearing Talon. It was really hot. Really hot. I, though, loved it. I've never been to Windsor Comic-Con, and from my understanding and talking to people, this was their 3rd, don't quote me on it, but 3rd year of running Windsor Comic-Con, Everybody was so nice. Absolutely the nicest convention volunteers, the convention staffers that I have ever had the pleasure to encounter, speak, talk, mingle with, and chat with. I had a gentleman who was obviously doing something, and I was very, very, very warm, and the last person in the cosplay line, and he brought me up a vitamin water to make sure that I wasn't going to pass out. He didn't need to do that, you know, and I would have been completely fine, but it was just those extra little touches that, you know, I will be going to Windsor Comic Con in 2018 because of the genuinely delightful time that I had this year. I did leave them a review on their page. It was great. And it's not their fault that I sweat like a sinner in church. So, absolutely great time I had at Windsor. Oop. Now there's some paper mache on my camera stand. So I got about 2/3 of the way done on that horn. Now I'm going to work on this one. Did they invite you to come back and judge? No, they didn't invite me to come back to judge. However, I will be going either as a cosplay competition individual, or maybe I might even have enough paintings saved up, set aside, that people haven't bought to maybe have a booth next year. Not opposed to being a judge at Windsor Comic Con. Like, hey, call me. Or send me an email. The link's below. But I just had a glorious time. Everybody was so nice. The foundations that were there, I took a picture with a couple of the tables that were working for different foundations to raise money for great organizations. I will be posting those pictures up on my Instagram page and on my Facebook page in the days to come this week. Just wonderful people, great to talk with. Everybody had a love for what they were working on, what they were doing. Everybody was happy, was genuinely happy to be there. You know, they didn't feel like it was an obligation. You know, somebody told them they had to show up to this. Nobody was snotty or snarky. Usually with some con staff, when you're having to get your badges checked, some people can be a little short. You know, I know a cosplay people, we don't tend to put our badges or our wristbands in the most convenient of places, but because we're thinking of photos and all the other stuff that come along with it. But no, they were understanding by looking around for it. You know, such nice people. So if you have not gone to Windsor Comic Con and you live close enough that Windsor is a couple-hour drive, if you will, out of your way, go for it. Do it. Do it, do it, do it. It's not a big one. It's small, a little smaller than Motor City Comic Con, but I'm guessing that's because they're still very, very new and young. And if they continue being as polite and respectful to all the guests that end up, you know, perusing the convention, it's going to just take off in the years to come. It's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get bigger from here. I do have to say, though, for the gentleman that dressed it up as Batman, I don't know who you were, but you asked me who I was. One of your big, I mean, I guess I'm not a Joker or a Penguin, but it's Talon. Talon from the Court of Owls. So. I can hear the gaming computer going off in the other room. He's talking to the cat, who's in the other room, in the gaming room. So it looks like we'll definitely be able to get 3 really good layers on these horns. I don't think I've got enough paper mache to get 4 layers on here, so what I'll do is I'll end up just going like around the points where I feel there'll be more stress put onto the horns, or where I might bump them against things more so. I've got flour and water just drying in the webbing of my fingers right now. It feels great. That's the sound effects that go with it. Alright, well, I have 3 full layers on these horns right now. So, looks like we're done streaming for the day. I'm sorry, I guess I thought that was going to take a little bit longer than just the 40-some minutes. Tomorrow, I will be streaming the epoxy sculpt. So we'll be sculpting epoxy onto the horns. Epoxy is one of those air drying products, just it's a 2-part clay, so you put them together, you sculpt with it, they'll stick to the paper mache. I'll be able to create the ribs and the grooves and the extra details, and I'll stream all that, and that should take a couple hours. So I'm sorry that this stream was so quick, but wham bam, paper mache is done. Oh, I guess I can show you. Here's the coyote skull. It's got all of its teeth, which are really, really, really cool. And then here's the jawbone that I managed to saw in half. I'm very proud of that, and keep all those teeth. And those will just hang down along the side. If you guys have seen Lightning Cosplays, I think it's her voodoo headdress, it's got the horns in it. I'm going something kind of like that, but a little bit more Wasteland style. So, yeah, that's all. Did you have to pay to enter the contest? For Windsor Comic Con, I did not have to pay to enter their cosplay contest. Some cosplay contests do have a fee that's like $5. They're usually not too expensive to enter the cosplay contest, but you do have to pay to get into the show. So I think online with taxes and the extra like fees that we use since we're U.S. citizens, it came out to be like $30 for a one-day ticket. But you go and you get deals on comic books and figurines, and you get to see other people in cosplay, so it's completely worth it. Completely worth it. And I got to chat with a bunch of the other cosplayers that were showing up there, and they had some great stuff as well. There was also some 2 cosplayers that I remember from Shudokon, and I think I saw one of them at JFX as well. But yeah, so I am done for the day. You can follow me on any social media platform, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. All of my old Twitch videos for Gusetsu, you'll notice it's been after 14 days, so they've been archived, and I've switched them over to my YouTube channel. So if you click on the Gusetsu picture right below this video, it'll take you to the playlist of all the Gusetsu videos that we've done so far for that upcoming costume for YumaCon. If you want to see more stills of play-by-plays of this Wasteland headdress, I post pictures as quickly and as frequently as I can on my Instagram. So if you want a more progress loaded and not having to wait till the write-ups that I do for my website or for YouTube, Instagram's going to be your picture go-to source as well. Again, my handle is Disfusional. Thank you for tuning in today. We will try to stream by noon tomorrow, but don't quote me on that. I will post a image on Instagram as well as Facebook about a half an hour before we're ready to go live. And again, we'll be doing epoxy sculpt. So, waiting now for all this dry. I'm going to go wash my hands. Thank you again for watching. I hope to see you guys later.